Yesterday's chapter spoke about death and destruction. But at the end of that death and destruction, the washing away of humanity on earth, we're told that God will reign supreme. The moon will be ashamed, the sun will be bashful, because God will reign on Har Zion and in Yerushalayim. And thus we continue chapter 25 with this messianic and otherworldly pronouncement and prophecy. Adonai Elohai, Ata aromimcha, Odesh shimcha ki asita fele, Eitzot merachok emunah, Omen. O God, aromimcha, I will praise you, I will honor you, because you have done wonders, you have done miracles. Pele, it's a miracle, a wonder. Your counsel, your eitzah, your advice from far away is emunah, it is strong, it is supportive, it is faithful. What you have told me to do works. And this sounds like, right? It sounds that Yeshaya here is thanking God personally. Those who want to say that it's referring to all the way back to Avram Avinu, because it's going to be a prophecy about Jewish people and Messianic times. So he's thanking God. Because you turned a city into a stone heap, a walled town into a ruin. Armon zarim me'ir lo'olam lo yibaneh. The citadel of the strangers, right, their palace, their fortress, it will never be rebuilt. Okay, and this is, right, this is the people who have done wrong, you have destroyed them. And at the same time, al kain yichabducha amaz. Therefore, a fierce, a strong people will honor you. Goyim aritzim yiraucha. And a city of cruel nations will fear you. You have shown that there is justice, that those who are kind and good will get their due reward, and those who are not will not. Ki hayita ma'oz ladal, ma'oz le'evyon, batzarlo. Because you have been a ma'oz. It means here, oz usually means strength. You've given support. You've been a refuge for the poor, for the needy. Machse mizerem tzel mecheref, ki ruach aritzim kezerem kir. You've been shelter during the rain, shade during the heat, right? When the tyrants were angry. And it's unclear exactly what some of these words mean here. When the tyrants were angry, you sort of sent them away. It rained and they were taken care of. And here we see that, right? If you want to talk about in the Gemara where it talks about emulating God and emulating God's words, here we see that something that God is God is somebody who helps the homeless, helps the paupers, provides them with a place to be. One of the important roles in emulating God. Continuing in verse 5, Kechorei b'tzion she'on zarim tachnia. The rage of these strangers, chorev b'tzel av zmir aritzim ya'aneh. You subdued the heat with the shades, with clouds, and it's not exactly clear what this last word means, ya'aneh. There are those who see it as a chant and others as an answer. My English here says the singing of the tyrants was vanquished. So it's unclear exactly how to read that word, but either way, what it's saying is that God has taken care of the evil. He's destroyed the Assyrians. Does it refer to the Assyrians? Does it refer to the Babylonians? Is it referring to some future messianic time? And then we continue. V'yasa Adonai tzvaot l'chol ha'amim bahar hazeh mishteh shmanim mishteh shemarim shemanim mimuchim shemarim mizukakim. Here we see a little more of the sort of the poetry we talked about in the last couple of chapters, and the alliterations with the mems and the shins here. God, the Lord of hosts, right, which is usually the God of war, tzava. What is God doing to all of the people on this mountain? What's this mountain? So most of the commentaries say that it's Jerusalem, it's Yerushalayim. That's, we know where Yeshaya was. That was the place where he gave prophecy to the many kings of Yehuda. There are others who want to say that no, maybe he went all the way to Har Chorev, maybe he went all the way to Sinai to offer this prayer, much like our Rav Shmuel. I don't know if you read this prayer when he was at Sinai. So what is God going to do to all of the nations? He's going to make a beautiful banquet with beautiful wines and all sorts of meats and foods, and right, that's what God's going to do. And what's that going to sort of demonstrate? Uvila bahar hazeh pnei halot al kol ha'amim v'hamasecha hanesucha al kol hagoyim. And on this mountain, God will destroy the shroud. Right? So the death is going to be covered, is what we're going to say. It's going to be all over the faces of people. It's going to be a covering that's going to spread over all of the nations. God is going to be in charge of everyone, and God is going to be in charge. And here, Bila Hamavet Lanetzach, words that are oftentimes said at a funeral. Death will be destroyed forever. Umacha Adonai Elohim dim'a me'al kol panim, and God will wipe the tears away from all faces. V'cherpat amo yasir me'al kol haaretz, and the sort of the shame of his people, Bnei Yisrael, will be removed from the earth. Ki Adonai diber, because that is what God spoke. And this verse is one that asks a lot of questions. What does it mean God will destroy death? What does it mean that God will wipe the tears away from all faces? So those commentaries who understand it as that there's not going to be any death. Death is going to end. People are going to live like back in Breshit to 969 years old, like Bitu Shelach, like Methuselah. Others say that this means sort of an unnatural death, especially when it comes together with the idea of Cherpat Amo. God is going to remove the shame of his nation. There's not going to be any anti-Semitism. There's not going to be pogroms. There's not going to be crusades, etc., etc. So unclear as to how to, understand this verse. Is it truly magical? Now, I don't know what's more magical. People living 1,000 years or no more anti-Semitism. They both seem to would be otherworldly and sadly supernatural. But Yeshaya is saying here that after the end, after the wiping away of the cruel nations, and God sheltering the poor, we're going to be at a point in world history where all those who are left are going to live a life of peace and joy and happiness, whether it's some supernatural, no more death, live forever, or whether it's you're living to 80, 90, 100, 110, whatever many years it is. But it will be a life of peace and tranquility. And when that happens, in verse 9, Pasuk Tet, V'amar bayom ahu hinei Eloheinu zeh kivinu lo v'yoshienu, zeh Adonai kivinu lo nagila v'nismecha bishuato. And on that day, what are the people going to say? They're going to say, this is the God that we hoped for. This is the God that we trusted in. God delivered us. And let us rejoice in God's deliverance. And we say this aspects of it and parts of it in davening in different places, right? And this is a prayer that's looking to a God to bring up this sort of messianic vision. Ki tanuach yad Adonai bahar hazeh, for the hand of God shall descend upon this mountain. V'nadosh Moab tachtav kidosh matbein b'mo madmeina, and Moab will be trampled underfoot as straw is threshed to bits. That's what God is going to do here. Obviously, this verse is also a verse that became debated amongst the commentary. Ki tanuach Yad Hashem, the hand of God will descend upon this mount. Is that metaphorical? We've had many times throughout this book the idea of the yado nituya, God's outstretched arm, whether it be the Assyrians or the Babylonians being sort of the arm of God to destroy people, whether it be the northern kingdom or whether it be the enemies of Israel, or is this referring literally to God's hand, that God has a hand? And commentaries, different places, have said both things. So God's hand will be on this mountain again, right? What does it mean by by this mountain. What does it mean by God's hand? And the second part of the verse, which is a little more, a little different, which says that God will destroy the Moabites. Again, an attempt at saying an enemy of Israel. Ufeiras yadav bikirbo, and God's hand will spread out. Ka'asher yifares hasochel lischot, just like a swimmer's hands are spread out to swim. God will, right? He's going to, in a sense, to me, it sounds like he's going to keep people afloat. That's what he's going to be doing. He's not going to let people fall down and struggle and quote unquote and drown. V'hishpil ga'avoto im arubat yadav, and their pride will be humbled along with those who are powerful. God's swimmer's hands are going to help the people. Umivtzar miskav chomotecha Hesach hishpil higia la'aretz ad afar, and we will be fortified through God's walls. So again, here, if it's the Bnei Israel that's talking about, and Jerusalem, is mean the walls of Jerusalem? Is it a metaphorical wall that he's speaking to the Moabites that he mentioned in the prior verse, that God will destroy them like those who are easily threshed? So, and they will be laid low and humble, and they will be destroyed to the very dust. So, right, this is again the complete destruction. Who is this referring to? Who are we speaking about here? It's not really clear. Yes, we have the statement here where it talks about the Moabites, but what this chapter is much more noteworthy for is this idea, bila hamavet lanetzach, the end of death. Is it supernatural? And there's a debate in the Gemara, I think between maybe Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, I don't remember, who debate, is this for only the Jewish people, because he talks about cherpat amo, the shame of the Jews, or is it that everybody after the Gog Magog, after the apocalyptic battle, after all of the evil ones have been washed away or burned away, that everybody will live this peaceful life, or this life which could be supernatural and forever? We don't know who it's referring to, but we do know is that we hope and pray that, unlike many other prophecies of Yeshaya that we read of late, we hope this one comes to pass speedily in our days.